Welcome to Ask Earl Anything. This is the show where your questions make the show. Without your questions, I do not have a show. So, this is my third show for 2021. This is February. I'm actually doing it the last weekend of January. So, it will be released during the first week of February. And my goal this year is to do more on-camera speaking shows. I feel more up to doing that this year, so I'm going to be speaking more on camera. I've got a couple things I've already done, a couple Ask Earl Anythings, and I also did a whole drum talk on my pedals, on a vintage Camco pedal, which got some good feedback. And I've got another one in the can about a muffling system, a Remo sub-muffle system that I put on my bass drum in my review of that. So that's coming out soon. But Ask Earl Anything is the show that I started in 2018 when I first started to really make drum covers and started to get a following here on YouTube. Prior to 2018, most of 2017, I did a lot of drum talk videos, and there's some of my most famous videos are from the early period of my YouTube career, where I was just talking to a camera and I had nobody really listening to me. Nobody even cared to listen to me. One of the most famous ones is one about Christian drummers, I would say worship drummers in a church. And it's 5 basic beats for playing inside of a worship team on a church. And I basically go over the money beat and the marchy beat and the 9-year-old, rock beat, and a couple other things that are traditional. And I kind of explain them and I show them how to use it in this one song, and that's got almost 60,000 views. So 4 years ago, it had very little views on it. But people started to find it and found my channel, and it's been one of the things that drives my channel. And I actually have a question today from somebody who basically found me this past couple weeks and asked me a question about that particular video, if I was going to add to that video and do something in 3 and 6, because that's really what's missing. That's all of 4/4. So we'll talk about that question when we get to it. But I'm bringing this up because I'm starting my 4th year on YouTube. This is my 3rd year. I'm officially 19, 20, 21. That's 3 years of doing Ask Earl Anything. I haven't hit 100 episodes yet, but I probably will hit that this year. I think this is almost episode 88 or 89 probably. So I've done a lot of Ask Earl Anythings. There's a lot of questions that have been answered here, and a lot of guys love this show. So thank you all for watching the show. So I have a lot of questions this week, but let's jump into what I normally do on the front end, which is a couple shout outs. And today's shout out goes to Drum Addict, a new friend of mine. His name is Eric. I don't know if I threw out to him last time. If I did, well, he deserves to. Check him out. He puts out a cover once a week. At the end of his cover, he does something unique. He talks to the audience about his cover and why he did it. I think that's kind of cool. I've only done that on one of my covers. But most of my covers are just covers. But give Eric a shout out. Check him out. If you subscribe to his channel because of me, tell him you did. That's always helpful. And if you've already a subscriber, great. That's awesome. He's a good guy. And I think he's a guy that should get some, more views. And he's trying to ramp it up right now. And he's pretty active in the new drum community that Drumman 190 started. So a lot of you guys know him from there. But I just wanted to push him out to my broader audience, whoever sees this today. Another person I want to shout out to is an old friend of mine, and I've shouted out to him before, but AR Drummer, Adam. And Adam's another guy that has a unique channel. We've been in it about the same amount of time. Adam likes to buy drums and sell drums, and he asks lots of questions here on Ask Earl Anything. He's even got a question today. So thank you, Adam, for your support of this channel. That is key to me having a channel like this. I do it for the guys that love watching my stuff and comment on my stuff. But I also am trying to reach the broader audience with a lot of my music and the things I love to do. As you all know, I am on a drum cover rampage lately for probably about 2 months now. I've been posting almost once a day. I think there's been a couple days I've missed. That's because COVID, I had a backlog of videos from COVID and doing so many videos in a weekend, and I'm still doing that. So I have a lot of fun. This is my fun time. And believe it or not, being that it's my fun time to be playing music and doing music Saturdays and Sundays, I just film what I do. So what you're watching every time I put a cover out is what I'm working on. And I have a lot of fun with it, and it's not very hard to produce these videos. It's just turning on microphones, recording it, and then putting it on the camera and locking it up in Final Cut. I have a whole series on this, how I make a drum cover, which if you want to know how I make drum covers, I'd recommend watching that series. It's definitely eye-opening, the process I go through from extract stems all the way to Final Cut. So I recommend that series to you. But some of you find me through my drum covers. I just released one today. This is Saturday, January 30th. I released Calling Elvis. Calling Elvis took a little bit longer than normal because I did 2 drum parts. One is a brush part and the other is the Crazy Tom other part that Jeff Porcaro played on it. And it's a hard song, and I know I didn't nail it, but I think seeing my process is important. And I think sometimes it's important to put out stuff where you're not quite there, but you're working towards it, because I want you to know I'm working on stuff all the time, trying to get better, trying to challenge myself. And that's why I do this all the time, is I want to challenge myself to have fun and to work on things that I need to work on to get better. So I recommend you check that video out. I think I had a lot of fun with it. I know it's not perfect, but I think I got the vibe, and that's what I was going for, getting the vibe before I released it. All right, let me jump into the questions, because I got so many questions in this short period of time. Please continue to ask questions, because like I said, if I don't get questions, I don't have a show, but I've been getting a lot of questions. So the first question comes from, we'll start with Roger Hartley. Roger Hartley asked me a question on my Dancing Queen ABBA video. He said, "Hello again, Earl. Are you reading music for this? I noticed you looking to your left a lot. Do you transcribe?" So one of the questions I get asked periodically when I do a video is if I can send somebody my transcription chart. And, you know, did I write it out and what chart am I reading? Well, I want to let you know that the majority of my videos, other than the big band videos where you see a drum chart sitting there, I do not play with charts for the most part. I don't write out charts on my drum covers. That doesn't mean I don't read charts, because I do read charts, and I can read music. But when I'm making drum covers, I make the drum covers basically by playing it over and over again and learning the song, and then I release the cover. And my process really is this. I get extract stems, I put them into Logic, I set up a click if I can. If I can, I play along with the drum track, the original drum track. Put it on over here, turn it on my headphones, turn the camera on wherever it is, or 2 cameras on, whatever it is, and I just start playing. And usually I play until I feel I've got the song on most songs. And that's pretty much it. And I'm learning the part a lot of times as I'm listening. And some songs I can learn really quick. Other songs take a little bit more time to learn. My average time I spend on a song is probably less than an hour, probably around a half hour on a song. I have some songs I get in 15 minutes, like the Spencer Davis group, I'm a Man. I've been playing that for years in bands. I didn't spend any time on it. I think I played it 5 times. It's a 3-minute song. It was boom, 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 boom. That's 15 minutes. That's how long it took to do it. I actually took one of the middle takes too. I didn't take the last take. That's how I do drum covers. Boom, fast, quick, done, finished. I don't spend a lot of time in the mixing process. I've got good templates and I just go. But reading a chart is not very common. So any of the music I've read charts with, usually I say that in the description somewhere, and I let you know that I'm doing that. So that's really an important part of it. All right, so that's the answer to that question. Let's move on to the next question. The next question comes from Lori Jones. Lori Jones asks, this is on the last Ask Earl Anything. He said, I love the new 2002. This is my 2002 18-inch crash. Talked about the last show. I have a 22-inch ride that would complement that new crash. I am looking for the 2002 ride. This is a 2002 Big Beat, which has got hammering. It's a little darker. It's a little thinner. But I'm looking for the 2002 just plain old ride one of these days. Anyhow, this is the next question. He says, I'm starting to get interested in miking my drums for recording and possibly live. I also understand some mics need phantom power. For a beginner, can you recommend an audio mixer and how to EQ an audio mixer and how for EG that would be coupled to say the band's PA? Oh, that's it. EG. That is how it would be put with the band's PA. All right. Audio mixers for live. Interesting. I've never used my own audio mixer for live other than to run a PA system for a band. And I've never sub-mixed into somebody else's PA system. Usually when I play live, somebody's providing a PA, and if they mic me, it's a mic'd PA system like at a church. I would say there's just about any PA system you could possibly want out there, any mixing board out there that might work for this, where you're giving a stereo mix to the board, the main board is what you're doing. The reputable ones, I would say, if you want to have some controls, is Mackie or the Presonus Studio Live boards are really good. I have a Studio Live board for my studio. I don't use all its capabilities, to be honest, but I do think the Studio Live is a great board. You can get a 16 by 4 by 2 or 16 by 2, probably at a reasonable price used today even. Behringer makes a great board. I mean, there's some great digital boards out there, but truthfully, that's not how I use it. You know, I don't use my board that way. It's only used in the studio, so I never think about it. As far as mics go, the mics that need phantom power are condenser mics. So these drum mics here, this MD421 or these Sennheiser E604s, these are dynamic microphones, just like the SM57. They don't require phantom power. My phantom power is required by my overheads, which are above out of the camera shot. So I would say that most boards today have channels where you can engage phantom power. It's just pushing 48 volts, or you can get an inline phantom power, which is extra if you want to do that. But most boards today that are made have that inline 48 volts. Anything new is going to have 48 volts. Maybe the old boards of back in the day, Lori, that was a bigger issue. Today, every board I see that comes out, cheap or not, like I had this little Behringer mixer. It was about 4 channels. I was using it for headphone mixes and stuff. That thing had phantom power on it. So they're making the equipment today to handle the condenser microphones. That's usually not a problem. But if I was doing what you're asking to do, I would probably go with something that had reverb in it, EQ, compression. That's when you want to go to a digital board. The digital boards have all that. So there's the Presonus is a really good digital board. Behringer's got a digital board. The X32 is the big one. I don't know what the smaller versions are, but going with a digital board, OSQ's got one too. There's a bunch. There's so much digital equipment I don't know anything about anymore. To be honest, I was telling my wife said the thing you used to love was drum catalogs and audio magazines. I really don't read that stuff as much as I used to. I've got my studio set up to a place where I'm happy, and unless I need to research something, I don't really look at new gear because I'm not lusting after the next thing. Matter of fact, my board I bought in 2017 off a good friend of mine who bought it 4 years prior, and he just wanted to sell it, and he gave me a great price on it, the Presonus board, and it's out of date, but it still works. And all I tell people to do is utilize the gear you have to the fullest. Now, if you're looking for new gear, there's always reviews on new gear. So look up new gear and look for it, and look what you're trying to do. What you're probably trying to do, Lori, is take a stereo output from your board, stereo mix from your board, and give it to the other PA system. So work with the guys in your band too. That's the other thing. Make sure that is. Maybe they can find channels for you. That's another way of doing it.
Hope that helps answer that question. The next question comes from AR Drummer, who I threw a shout out. By the way, I did it. He tells me I did talk about Eric. That's funny. Eric, you're going to love that. So that's double shout out for Eric, Drum Addict. I shouted out to Trey and Eric last time. Anyhow, I'm supposed to be talking to Eric today, so I'm looking forward to meeting him, you know, talking face to face or FaceTime to FaceTime or whatever we're going to do. So anyhow, Adam, your question was, how have you acquired the main bulk of your gear? Buying new, buying used, trading, etc. And that's a loaded question, so that's a great question. How have I got most of my gear? Well, I will say most of my gear has come over 45 years of playing. I bought a lot of gear, don't get me wrong. Most of the cymbals here were bought, but not all of the cymbals here were bought. These 3 cymbals I bought brand new. Well, actually, this was supposedly used, but it was brand new. This was supposedly used, but it was brand new. This was supposedly used, and it was almost brand new. So this was the closest to used. It had some stick marks on it. This was a good friend of mine. Said, hey, I don't use this anymore. You want it? And he handed it to me. This was a set of hi-hats that was my brother's. And I sold it with a drum kit to a friend of mine. He got rid of the drum kit, had the hi-hats, my friend Scott. We traded and I got it back. So a lot of stuff comes to me by trade. This Noble Cooley was a trade with Scott. This Gretsch kit I bought 1979 in college. The extra 10-inch tom a year later, the 8-inch tom another year and a half later. That became my main drum kit for a long. It's still here as my main drum kit. I'm not selling it. Guys asked me to sell it. If I need parts like arms and stuff, I've replaced and bought, and I go to eBay, I go to music stores and buy new stuff. I'm a crazy person. When it comes to stands and stuff, same thing. Some of these stands I've acquired, some of these stands I've bought. Most of these stands have been put together and slapped together in different ways. I mean, I don't care about anything like that. It's like whatever will hold the cymbal, and if the parts work, I make it work. This hi-hat stand, this was a Christmas present. I was talking about the Tama Classic Hardware, and my wife bought me a hi-hat stand. I thought that was kind of cute. I love the hi-hat stand. By the way, it's a two-legger that I kind of like. I don't like all two-legged hi-hats. Matter of fact, I've got a DW 5000 two-leg hi-hat that I hate. I stomp on it and the thing starts doing this. Drives me crazy. This one kind of sits in place. It's really a nice hi-hat. This is a Speed Cobra, the lower line, not the high line. There's 2 lines of the Speed Cobras. So it's got a Speed Cobra pedal. It goes with my Iron Cobra pedal. I bought the Iron Cobra pedal. I have a double Iron Cobra pedal in there that I did a session and somebody gave me an Iron Cobra pedal for the session. I asked him to get me a new one. He worked at a music store, but he didn't get me a new one. He bought it on eBay used, so I got a used one. I wasn't specific enough. I should have been more specific because I thought the new one would cost him about $300. I thought that was fair for the session I was doing for him and his band. But that's what I got. So I get gear all different ways is what I'm trying to say. And for me to kind of meet it out, like, is it buy or not? I don't buy a lot of gear. When I do buy gear, it's gear I want. It's something I want or I need. So last year, what gear did I buy? I bought this 18-inch Crash recently. I bought that Octobon, that 6x11 Octobon for $85 on eBay. I don't buy new a lot of times. I haven't bought a new drum kit since 1979. I mean, truthfully, buying a new drum kit's not part of in my world. I just can't seem to dig up $5,000. But then again, I'll dig up $1,000 for a snare drum. I've done that once. I think one of my snare drums I bought for $1,000. Well, it was about $800. The DMR cost me around $800, I think. But this Noble Cooley was a trade. Most of the snare drums I have not spent more than $300 on. The Black Beauty was a trade. The Black Magic, the 8x14 Black Magic, was a buy, but I got a great deal on it. It was like $228 for that drum, which is usually $400. I have an Acrylite somebody handed to me. A friend of mine, Ken Burton, handed it to me. I have 2 13-inch snare drums, a Omar Hakim and a Steve Jordan. and I bought both of those, and I'm going to tell a story about that one of these days. I have a Gretsch chrome over brass 5x14 that my son-in-law gave me. Yeah, I mean, most of my gear I've been given the last few years. I've been, just acquiring gear that way. But most of my cymbals I bought at some point in time. So I've got a lot of cymbals that I bought years ago. That's why I've got over 50 cymbals. But I'm not as gear crazy as I used to be, is what I'm trying to say. It's just spending money is not really as important. 10 years ago, I watched eBay all the time. I was always looking. When I got into the studio 20 years ago, the first 10 years of having the studio, I spent a lot of money on microphones, mic pre's, speakers, had to have the newest, latest, greatest gear. I stopped about 2012. About 2012, I started to realize life is more than gear, and I only get gear I need now. That's my thing. So if I need it, I buy it. Like these microphones, I needed 2 sets of mics. This gave me a second set of mics for the Studio B and the concert tom kit. That's why I did it. So anyhow, I hope that kind of answers that question. Thanks for the question, Adam. I always appreciate your questions. The next question comes from Dan Hoyland, and Dan asked me a couple questions, so I'm going to go through them slowly and one at a time. My question to you is, he's a vintage gear guy. He said, my question to you is, how do they sound in person when you're jamming sitting on the kit? So he's talking about my concert tom kit. How do I think the concert tom kit sounds? And he says, when I use open bottom head kits, they sound like trash. And this kit sounds great on this video. Well, the key to concert toms is to muffle the toms, and they don't sound great in the room like the resonance you got of a two-headed tom. It doesn't have that sound. They're flat, they're dead, but the mic, the reverb, the EQ I do on them brings out a certain punchiness, which has a certain sound that fits the songs I'm playing that kit on. So concert toms never sounded great, but there's a whole era of music that was made with that sound. So when I'm playing old 70s music, pop music, AM rock or FM rock from some of the rock bands of the day, and they were using those drums sound right in that music. Because the open-headed toms were what was being used. I'm trying to think what tune it was. It might have been one of the Chicago tunes or something. I'm not sure which song he was talking about on this one. But open-headed concert toms sound right on certain music. It doesn't sound right on all music. Okay? So, a lot of music today is made with two-headed drums, and they have a certain resonance, and you got to get that resonance. So I come to this kit for that music. But usually when I'm doing a 70s song or a lot of toms, I pull that kit out, and it sounds right. So it's knowing how to use the right kit for the right sound. For the most part, I don't take that out. That's only a studio kit. And I think I've taken those toms out once or twice. I used them in a church once for a short period. And they sounded great in the church, by the way. You put mics on that kit, and they sounds great. You play it flat, it sounds flat. And I actually have a video of me playing with the Swigs. That kit, but I brought it because it was going to rain that day, and I figured fiberglass drums versus my Gretsch drums getting wet, I'll take the shot at that. So I bought a metal snare drum. I think I brought the DMR cast aluminum, and I had the 10, 13, 15 on the rack. Plus I was playing on plywood. It's an interesting video. You look it up. I think it's Midnight Confession, the Swigs. We're playing live, we're playing outside, we have foreboding weather coming in. It looks like it's going to rain the whole time. I'm under a tarp, a covering, canvas, tent-like covering, and I'm on a piece of plywood. I mean, you ever play out in the grass on a piece of plywood? It does not feel good. So this kit had to be stable, so I put it on the rack. And then I took the rack and the bass drum, and I put the bass drum to the rack, and I attached it so it wouldn't move. This kit felt great. I didn't have to worry about nothing moving, and it stayed everywhere, and everything worked perfectly. But that
kit didn't sound that great out there. I mean, I had to hit really hard to get that sound out there. And what you're seeing in that video is the sound of the cameras probably about 20 to 40 feet away from me, away from the PA system. You're actually seeing the whole band. So if you want to hear what the concert toms sound like that far away, taped up, because I think there was some tape on them and stuff, check that video out. Now the second part of your question is, let's see. He said that'd be cool if I answered it on Ask Earl Anything. Okay. He said, could you elaborate on your kit in the room, basement, etc., your acoustics in your favor? I have struggled with this for a long time since all the noise has nowhere to spread out to because of my kit is too close to the walls and the ceilings are low. The kit sounds like a muddy mess. It makes it very hard to have fun improvising grooves because of this too. I found out that when playing a tight 16th notes on the hi-hat, there will be no distinction from the chick from the hi-hats, and the bass drum thud doesn't cut through. All right, so the questions about the room, again, the room matters. I think one of the biggest problems with a lot of drum covers is the room, if the room doesn't sound good. Both of these rooms are dialed in a little bit. Now the Studio B is a little bit more open, a little bit more cinder block walls, a little bit more boxy, but it's not quite a box, so it's still got it's got more parallel walls kind of things. I did do the same thing I did in this studio where I kind of took the walls in a little bit on the corners. So you don't see this over here, but over here there's some corners that are kind of turned a little bit. So I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-sided wall basically. 1, 2, 4, and then there's 2 corners, so it's 6. This room is dialed in with the acoustic foam on it, the rug on the floor. Even though I got a low ceiling, this room really sounds pretty good. So when I'm recording in here, the drums sound good. And it's big enough, it's 17 by 19, and it's not a square, and it's got these strange little corner walls and a couch in it, and the way I've got everything set up in here, this room actually sounds pretty good. That room is a lot tighter, and maybe what I'll do, and I'm saying this on camera so I remember to do this, is I'll try to do a little picture of the room for you and put it on top of this. And that room's a lot tighter. It's a lot more crammed. There's a lot of junk in there. The saving grace of that room is actually the thing that makes the room so darn tight. It's this Chase lounge my wife bought about 10 years ago. We had it in our bedroom, and then she started to hate it, and we've got new chairs, and she doesn't use that Chase lounge anymore. And I call it Earl and Stephanie's Furniture Warehouse in here. I get all the furniture that she doesn't want in the house. It comes in here somehow. And that piece has been left with me, and I didn't have any place to put it, so I stuck it in Studio B. And it became the greatest bass trap in there. And the drums, ever since I put that in there, sound right. Before that, they never sounded right. They always had like some kind of weird frequency flying around that just kind of didn't make it hard to record. I put that in there, and all of a sudden, that and what I do on the walls is put up some duvets and blankets, and all of a sudden, the sound in that room is good enough to record in, and that's why the concert tom kit sounds the way it does. So you got to have a good room to record in. If you don't have a good room, you're gonna have a hard time with your recordings. So I agree with you on that, and that's an art. There's nothing to it. I can't tell you that I did this right or that right. It was just guesswork and listening. And the key is to listen. When I first came in here in this room, the drum kit was facing this direction, and I had a rug on the wall. And I had this terrible honk at about 400K. 400 to 500K, there was just this annoying kind of sound. It was like there, it was like in everything. One day, I was sitting there going, what can I do, God? What can I do about this? And I looked up at the rug and I thought, maybe if I take that rug down and put some of the extra tiles I had, maybe it'll change things. I dropped that rug, put these tiles up, and this room went to perfect. It was like, boom. It's like, okay. That's all it took. And then we put a door in. The door wasn't here originally. Then we put the door in and built Studio B. And Studio B had the honk in it. It took a while to get the honk out of there. So acoustics definitely you have to work with the treatment in the room. Got to get the sound right. This room records drums very well. It records vocals well. It records acoustic instruments well. So it's a good room for that. Anyhow, thank you again for asking that question. The next question comes from Daniel Watkins, and he asked me, when am I going to actually do a worship video about playing in 3 and 6? That's what's missing in the other worship video. And maybe someday I'm going to actually do that. But for today, in that last video about worship drumming, I showed the basic beats, playing with a click and all that. The same thing applies for playing in 3. If I'm thinking in 3 or 6, it's really not that big of a deal. Most of the 6 music actually can feel like it's in 4. So it's kind of funny because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's got that triplet feel to it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's basically what I use for most 6 parts, is starting with playing 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your basic starting point for anything in 6. Now, you can start breaking it up a little bit. Basically, you could feel that over 4 if you want to. And a lot of times, that's what I do when I'm playing that. Now, 3, playing a traditional 3 is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The 3 thing is what they call a waltz. So when I think of 3, I'm thinking of the waltz pattern. Most of the Christian music in church, 3 is more of kind of the marching. So you're doing something on the toms. So it really is, you've got to listen to the music and you've got to count. And if I do the counting in my head until I understand the feel of it, that's how I started out playing in 3 and in 6. Truthfully, if you're a drummer that's had a jazz background or listened to the music of the 60s and the 50s, that 3 thing was always in there, and it was considered 4/4. Most blues music was. That's a 12/8 feel, we used to call that. Kind of a blues thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, again, it's based on the triplet thing versus and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So if I'm practicing, if I want to practice going back and forth between those types of sections, which you get every once in a while, you can practice.
5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, and 4, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tempo stayed the same. I was just metrically modulating to 6 from 4 to 6, back and forth. So, again, it's the way you count. 6/8, just to give you the picture of 6/8 versus 4/4. 4/4 means the quarter note, which is a different note than an eighth note. Quarter note is a value of 4. Well, 4/4, the quarter note is 4 beats to the bar. So 4 is 4 beats to the bar. That's what the top 4 means. The 4 on the bottom means it's a quarter note. So 4 beats to the bar means it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the beat. And the quarter note gets 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the quarter note. 6/8 is 6 beats to the bar, but the eighth note gets the beat. So that's why I was doing what you heard there, why the tempo didn't change. Because in 6/8, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 4 was 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm playing the quarter notes and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's actually a 3/8 I was playing in, but you get the idea. As opposed to 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Anyhow, I don't know if that was confusing or if I actually helped in that lesson, but that was the idea. Maybe one day I will actually do a show on 6/8 for playing worship music and playing toms and 6/8 and all that good stuff. All right, the next question comes from my friend Sean Woody, and he asked me this question. He said, and I thought this was a really cool question, so I put it in here. He said, what are some of the things you do to help you balance drumming and the rest of your life? And that's a really good question to ask Earl today, because a lot of guys think my life's a little out of balance, the amount of drum covers I'm doing, the amount of content I'm producing. But in actuality, what balances my life is sensitivity to my job and my family. If I'm not giving time to my family and if I'm not doing my job, then drumming doesn't work. Okay? So when I'm doing drumming, and all the drumming I'm doing is coming in the space that does not affect my family life and it does not affect my work life. I give my work life what they require. They get 150% when I'm at work. I produce what they need produced. I'm available to them when I need to be available to them. My family, my wife is my main family. Every day we talk every day. We have coffee time in the morning. At nighttime we watch TV together. We eat together. We hang out together. We are in love. That's the key thing of life for us. We are important to one another. Now, my wife is a very busy person. She's a college professor. This is the time of year where college is really going. Plus, she writes books. She's an author. She's written in music. She's an extremely accomplished person who has a lot of things going on. So that allows me some spare time that doesn't have to be family time because of that. But we have some rules in our house. Usually about 5 o'clock at night, I stop in here. And I go over there, and she stops what she's doing, and we find time for each other. So between 5 and 6, usually we shut down. The mornings are for us to have coffee, hang out. That's important. So I wake up early a lot of times, watch drum videos. That's when I do my drum video stuff in the morning. I release them and answer questions and all kinds of stuff and comments back. That's a time where I'm not with her. As soon as she wakes up, we get together, we hang out, we talk, we have coffee, philosophize. I get prepared, I go to work, I do my job. During the week, I don't touch drums a lot of times because I'm working. Weekends, I get to Fridays, and that's when I pick up and start playing drums. And if I'm playing at church, I got to learn music. I learn music. Now, sometimes I'm learning music by listening to music throughout my day, where I have lulls in the day, or I have, just for enjoyment, I put music on while I'm working. Some of my work allows me to do that, so I do that. As you all know, sometimes I'll answer some comments during the day if there's a lull in the day. But the truth of the matter is, my job gets its time, my wife gets her time. When we go see the kids, we do the kid thing. When we decide we're going to go someplace, we go someplace. That's my balance. If they're not happy and my job's not happy, then drumming doesn't really work. For me, drumming is life. So when I spend time in here, this time is time I get to do for me. And it's important for me to bring what I do for me, to my family and to my job. And by the way, I think that the creativity that I have inside of me allows me to be a better safety director at the company I work at. It allows me to be a better husband and father and grandfather to my grandkids, my children, and my wife. So this is the balance of life for me. Music is important. Now, there's other things I have to do, like take out the garbage and clean the kitchen and things I do around the house, but for the most part, drumming is part of it. Now, the other thing is, I don't let the social media rule my life. So I don't always respond to emails. I don't always respond to social media immediately. A lot of times I have to do these things when I have time to do it. And I'm not picking it up and letting it stop while I'm doing things. One of the things I hate in life is people I'm talking with you, I'm spending time with you, I'm fully present with you, and then you go look at your phone and you can't get away from your phone and you have to answer somebody else. When I'm with people, I'm with people. When I'm in my recording world, my drumming world, I'm drumming. When I'm at work, I'm at work. You give your time to the places you're supposed to give your time to. This phone that we have in our hands all the time is not always going to require to be answered. Those things can be answered later in life, and that's what I try to do a lot of times. And if I get you early, it's only because I'm in the middle of having that space. So, anyhow, I hope that answers that question, Sean. Let me know if it doesn't. All right, and my last question comes from Dennis Mullen, and let's see what he asked. He asked a question on this. It was about the drum cover Skin Tight by Chicago. I was surprised how many people dug that cover. It kind of goes the tempos go a little bit all over the place, but that's just the way Danny plays, to be honest. And he asked me a question about that. He said, it couldn't have been easy to stay in time with that recording. It wasn't, but I will tell you that the click track locked up and it helped me. And I'm okay playing with a moving click. So that helped me on that song. Plus, the other thing that helped me on that song was I've been playing that song since I was a kid. So when I put it on for the first time, it was like, oh yeah, it moves here. Yeah, I don't even think about it. I just kind of follow Danny around because I've been playing Danny Serafin songs for so long. So he says, I'm a huge CTA Chicago fan. Danny Serafin, absolutely one of my favorites, like you. He said, P.S., what is the new 18-inch Crash? Sounded really good. I was a Zildjian man myself. I liked their tone. What made you swing towards Paiste? Well, the new Crash is a 2002 18-inch Crash. Not a thin Crash, just a regular Crash. What's made me swing towards Paiste? Well, I have a video on Paiste cymbals and my journey to Paiste. But I will say now that I've been playing them probably a solid 5 years now, I've been playing these cymbals. I can tell you that my journey to Paiste has been one where I discovered that they just sound great recording. And this is what a lot of guys used to say about Paiste back in the 80s and the 90s. And I'd read articles in Modern Drummer, and these guys that were Paiste guys would go, the Paiste cymbals just sit in the mix a certain way. They do. And most of the comments I get about my drumming is where the cymbals are and how they don't just blow out, but they sound beautiful. That's because Paiste cymbals sit in the mix. There's something about really dark Zildjians that I like on a live gig, and I've always wanted to do if I was playing like kind of a jazz thing, or that worship thing where you have the washy cymbals, the dark really works. And I've got a set of Caropes that I use in church all the time. And I can use the Paistes in church. I've used them in church. They sound great in church. But when they're under a microphone, there's something about Paiste cymbals. They just sound really pretty and beautiful, and they sit in the mix. And once I discovered that, I decided that I didn't really want to go back to the B20 Zildjian Sabian world. I played Sabians for 25 years. In the 80s, I started playing Sabians from 1988 through pretty solidly, right through 98, 2008. About 2012, 13 is where the Sabians stopped. And that's when I bought the, my first Paiste 20-inch crash, probably 2013. In 2014, I bought the Carope. And I was starting to lean towards, well, maybe I'm going to go towards Zildjian now. I've got all these Sabians. Maybe I'll go Zildjian. Maybe I'll go Paiste. And the 20-inch crash, 505 thin crash Paiste I bought, helped me buy the Giant Beats. The Giant Beats helped me buy the 2002s. And the 2002s and the Giant Beats sound like the 505s. And all of a sudden I realized this B8 family of Paiste just sounds so beautiful. And I started using them all the time. And now I've got quite a collection. I've got a 24-inch Giant Beat Ride. I got the 22-inch Big Beat. I got a 20-inch Paiste Dark Energy prototype that I bought years ago. I bought that in 2006. Kind of sounds like the GAD cymbal to me. I got a 602 20-inch Sizzle. So I've got 4 ride cymbals in the Paiste family. I've got Rude hi-hats. I've got 505 hi-hats. I've got 15-inch Giant Beat hi-hats. I even got a set of Sound Innovation. It's a Sound Innovation, no, Sound Dimension hi-hats that my son-in-law has, 13-inch. So I've got 4 sets of hi-hats at Paiste hi-hats. And then you got the crash cymbals. I got a 16-inch thin 2002, an 18-inch crash 2002. I've got an 18-inch thin Giant Beat. I got a 20-inch multi. So that's 4 crash cymbals right there. Plus I got a 16-inch Paiste traditional. I've got a few China cymbals. This is a 2002. I've got quite a collection, and I've been collecting them for years, some of these cymbals. And I've just really honed in on the B8 2002 line and the Giant Beat line and the 505s. They're all the same family, and they sound great. So that's how I ended up there. I love Zildjian. I've got a whole bunch of Zildjians too. I got like 50-something cymbals here. And I've got a whole set of Sabians, which I've used on things. But Paistes have become my favorite, and maybe one day I'm going to sell my Sabians. You know, that's a possibility that I sell my Sabians one of these days. I think I'm going to keep my Zildjians because the Caropes are very unique, and they were that dark thing I was looking for. But I've got this 120-inch Sabian ride, medium ride, that I bought at Ellis Drum Shop in Minnesota about almost 8 years ago when it was open. And it sounds beautiful, and I just used it on a Boss Skaggs tune that will never come out because it just got, YouTube just blocked it. Which is my last comment of the day, because I know I've gone pretty long on this one. Just want to let you know, another question I get asked quite often, and I don't answer very often. Thanks for the question, by the way, on this Paiste cymbals. Let me just throw one more thing out before I close out today. I get asked quite often about YouTube and the copyright and the publishing companies and all that. I've been noticing something last couple weeks. I've been putting out videos. I've been making videos. I put them into my storage waiting to put them out. And then a couple weeks later, they find it and then they block it on me. Or I put it out and then they partial block it on me. And this is becoming way too common these days. One of them is a Boss Skaggs tune from the movie Urban Cowboy, I believe it was. Love, Look What You've Done For Me. I did that tune a month ago. I was just getting ready to put it out, and the next day I was thinking about putting it out. The day before I went to my list, and it was blocked in all countries. I don't know why they block songs like this, but that song got blocked. No Tell Lover by Chicago. I did the whole version of it. Blocked. I've got at least 7 or 8 blocked songs on Instagram TV, IGTV. So follow me on Instagram. Instagram is @EarlDrum. Follow me on Instagram. If you want to see some of those full covers that I've got that I can't get on YouTube, I put them there. And a lot of times they don't get blocked there. Now, other things get blocked on Instagram. That's a whole nother story. But
I'm thinking about doing a video about some of the tunes you don't want to try on YouTube these days. And they're strange songs. Some of them are super strange. Like all the Quincy Jones stuff, forget about James Ingram. I did 2 James Ingram from Quincy Jones's The Duke album. They're blocked because JR played on them. They're blocked. Can't put them up. They're on Instagram TV. No Tell Lover by Chicago. I got another song called I've Never Been in Love Before from Chicago 8. I did it a year ago. Can't get it on. It's blocked. Flat out blocked. Can't put this one on. You can put other Chicago songs on. Like Skin Tight, didn't have a problem getting on, but No Tell Lover, no. I've Never Been in Love Before. No one even knows that song. I can't get it on. So there's a lot of weird stuff on YouTube, what you can get and can't get on. And I think sometimes they're looking at how many views you get. Like it gets to a certain view count and then they block it. That happened to a Yes tune of mine. I did Roundabout by Yes. It's blocked completely. It blocked after 500 views, then they blocked it on me. It never got anywhere else. So if you can find a YouTube cover of Yes, Roundabout, that cover must have been there a long time before me, and I don't know why they're not blocked. But I got blocked. Mine must have sounded pretty good. And my stuff sounds pretty close to the record for some reason, even if it's me playing drums, and they block it. They think I'm using it. So maybe I mixed too good. Maybe that's the moral of the story. I've heard guys basically take their mixes down to the point where the drums are burying the mix. It doesn't sound that good, and then they get the song on. But I can't do that. I just want the songs to sound right. You know, that's why I do this the way I do it. So sorry about that. That's my thing. Anyhow, thanks for watching Ask Earl Anything. Your questions make the show. If I don't have questions, I don't have a show. Thank you all for watching it. I hope you make it to the end. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.